Remote control flash from my hand, smash the TV, burn the stand. Piss all on the DVD, you can't take the cash from me. Listen to the dog that's black, those tinted specs are coming back. There ain't no shit that we won't see, you can't take this cash from me. There ain't no place I'd rather be, recording on Audacity. But you can't take this cash from me.
Hello and welcome to Black Dog episode number 345.
Sweet.
Nice. Yes, hello everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Hopefully we're sounding a little clearer.
We are sounding like we are enunciating our words properly.
Do you think that?
I certainly do, Mr. Medcalf.
Lovely. Well, this here is the first of the Black Dog podcasts on the new kit.
Yes, we are sounding like the BBC Home Service.
Yes, hello. We have new kit. But anyway, thank you to everyone who did that. But let's just move on before I get into the old Patreon pushing. So, hello, I'm Lee.
I'm Darren.
I'm Jim. I'm Elton.
And this week we will be seeing how everyone's week's been. We will just have a little bit of a chat. And then we'll be moving on to this week's movie, which is Serenity, a.k.a. Firefly 1.2.
Yeah, Series 2. Well, series 2, yes.
3 and 4.
And 5 and 6.
Possibly
The
5.
barrel scrapings.
Powder dry, Jim. Powder dry. Remember, Odil's not that far away from you.
Yeah, man, she knows where you live.
She can reach you quickly.
She knows where the Library of Dreams is.
Yeah, and the special incantations. Anyway, so we're going to see how everyone else has been. Welcome to 345. I can say that because I can remember it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Treatment's
3, 4,
working
5.
then. Excellent.
Yeah,
Well done.
there you
Yeah.
go. Nice.
Lovely.
And that's about it. So let's start with how everyone's week's been, and we'll start with you, Jim, because you sound like you're suffering. I'll be honest with you.
Well, I am. There's an ironic story to that.
Okay.
The other week, as I am a man of a certain age, I have a yearly health check to check my blood pressure and do a blood test and heart rate and stuff like that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. You're younger
Well,
than
yes,
me,
yeah. You get past 45, you're in the heart attack zone.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah. You make it past, I think, 60, you're clear again, and your chances suddenly drop. There's a big spike. And my local GPs, I always get a yearly MOT.
Oh, right.
Okay. Maybe I should.
So
put
anyhow,
myself in for one.
I went there. It was a Wednesday morning, so probably not the healthiest morning of the week for me.
Okay.
Nodding a black dog. And it was one of those instances where the Met Office, in its wisdom, had said there's a storm coming, and they'd called it Deirdre or something equally bland and insulting, and so it kicked off, as it does.
Yes.
They never learn. You know what I mean? You have to look at history. John Wayne, real name Marion. Big Daddy, British wrestler, real name Shirley. Ice-T, real name Tracy. If you call a Keith Kevin, it's going to fucking rip some roofs off to make a point. You know what I'm saying? So, I went down to wind, rain, hail. It's like, hail Caesar, hail, snow, sleet. We've had it bloody all in this country. To do the old carry-on joke.
Yeah.
Had the health test, came home, and a few days later, now whacking great cold. Thanks.
Nice.
Moral of the story, don't go to health checks. They're bad for your health.
Yeah, that is the curse of the black dog. That is the whole thing. You go to do one thing and you end up doing something entirely different.
God, don't you?
and normally to your detriment. That's always good. Yay! Oh dear. So you're feeling like shit right now, is what you're saying? Yeah.
Well, no, that was my worst a couple of days here. It hasn't been quite so bad, but I've had my patent ginger whiskey, which cures everything, or at least makes me forget about everything else. So
Nice.
so that works.
That's always good.
Yeah. Other than that, not done an awful lot really.
Okay.
I did start watching a YouTube series
Oh, yes.
called The Pengust Munch.
What?
It's on a channel called the Chicken Connoisseur. And I came across it. I was reading some article about the attempts to take YouTube stars and put them on telly. And Channel 4 apparently have picked up this guy for a series. And I was like, what? In fact, he's a young London lad who goes around reviewing various fried chicken emporiums.
Right.
So I thought, all right, I'll have a look at this. And rather than actually inflaming my kind of hipster ire or usual grumpy old man attitude about the kids, I've been really enjoying it because it's just strangely surreal. The guy who does it, I only know him as the Chicken Connoisseur. I can't remember his real name. But he looks like he's about 13.
Oh, I think
but he's
I know
actually
this
in
guy.
his 20s. He's always really sharply dressed and going into these scutty chicken restaurants. He's this unique reviewing style. I go, the burger was really, really hench, and I was looking forward to it, but it was just really hench, and halfway through I bit a bone. Not cool, man.
Hench?
It was totally dead.
Yeah, hench as in quite muscular and well built.
Oh, okay.
It is just kind of, I don't know, it's just really weird because he speaks almost like kind of like posh sounding, but also really street. But everything's really lang and peng and all these other weird words I don't understand.
Lang and peng.
Oh, the Pengist Munch.
He's just so personable and just so funny, and he's just the expressions. He's got one of those faces which is just so expressive. And the way he rolls his eyes, he goes, "Those chips, they were mythical, man. They weren't chips at all."
Mythical?
If something's bad, it's totally mythical, apparently.
Wow.
Wow.
Check it out at your peril.
Jim, you could, if we do actually have to mix it up with the kids, you can be our guide. You can be our translator.
He can be like Bad Dad on the Adam and Joe show.
Yeah, he could be. He could, yeah.
God.
The late lamented Bad Dad.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's very sad.
So, other than that, I've not been doing too much other than reading a lot of 2000 AD comics. So,
nice.
As I subscribe to the new Hachette Partwork thing, so every month they bring me 2 more hardbacks.
Nice.
And I had a kind of sort of backlog built up, so I've been enjoying going back and reading classics like Robo Hunter.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Sam Slade, isn't it?
Nemesis. All good stuff. And also reading a couple of books on 2000. I got for Christmas The Mighty One by Steve McManus, who was Tharg for many years.
Yeah.
Which is quite entertaining. However, the better one is Pat Mills's memoir, The Secret History of 2000 AD.
Yeah.
Pat don't pull his punches.
No, Pat's not one for holding back, is he? Let's be honest.
He's not. It's a very good read. I mean, I would recommend it to anyone who's thinking of working in creative industries.
Yeah.
Because he spells out the pitfalls and bastardy that content publishers regularly practice. But also got some very good advice for just, writing and developing stuff. And he's just utterly scurrilous and really funny.
Nice.
And very insightful as well. But I've been really enjoying reading that. I've got the last bit to read, so I've been just trying to eke it out. Just enjoying it so much.
Nice. And what's that again? Remind me again.
That's called Be Pure, Be Vigilant, Behave, The Secret History of 2000 AD.
Nice. I shall put that on my Amazon list as soon as I get paid. Yes. Excellent. Cool.
Yes, so that'll do it for me, I think.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. Okay. Well, then, over to you then, Elton. How's your week been, sir?
Not been too bad, actually. I had a hard drive fail on me, and if you've ever had that happen to you, then you know the pain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Bye-bye porn collection.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank
all them times spent downloading that stuff, all for naught.
Yeah.
62 hours to download my naked Captain Janeway picture, and it is all for naught.
Because they've still got dial-up in your area, haven't they, Elton?
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, internet is brought to you by pigeons.
Yeah. Pidgex.
Yeah, they just drop a bag of internet off at you.
Oh dear. So your hard drive's fucked, is it?
Well, luckily enough, I've got a backup of the backup.
Okay.
Which is, it's got most of the stuff on there, so it's not as bad as it sounds. It's just the faffing around and trying to find out what you've lost. So I'm going through that at the moment. I'm swapping out drives and trying to work out what's where and what's. And so now I decided to buy a load of DVDs and just rip everything I want to keep onto DVDs now.
Or just
sod it.
Or just buy a solid state drive, mate, where you can an external solid state drive and just dump everything on there. It'll be super fast and it won't get damaged. And
I know they're about £1 million though, aren't they?
No. They've come right down in price now.
No, that's part of
hard
my
drives are still well expensive.
No, that's part of my shopping list for Black Dog for this PC. Is the whole thing is like a 250 solid state drive is about 150 quid.
Oh,
250.
can't afford that.
No, but if you go down to like the 120 gig solid state drives, they're about 50 notes.
Right. No, I might invest in something like that then.
And they are super quick. Super quick.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Or you can just go to 70 notes and buy a Western Digital 2 terabyte normal hard drive and you'll be well away.
That's what's gone wonky.
Well, then don't buy one of them.
Actually, I think it was like a terabyte one and it's gone wonky and it's just, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Just fuck off. So I'm going through all my stuff at the moment and stuff like all my old recordings that I'm never going to get rid of, but don't really need. And it's all the waveforms and the Audacity program recordings, just in case someone comes along and says, oh, you can't have that in your show anymore. And so I've got it all there so I can drop it out if ever I need it, but I don't need it sitting on a drive. So I'm ripping all of them to DVD.
72,000 episodes of Rethinking Lost.
You're not far wrong. You're really not far wrong. But yeah, I've been doing that. I've also been watching a program called Mars.
All right.
It's on Netflix at the moment. And I think it's from 2016. I thought it was brand new, but it's not. I think they're bringing out a new set of episodes very, very soon. And it's all about the first visitation, or what would happen on the first visitation to Mars. And it's very good because it's kind of a documentary and kind of a sci-fi drama.
Yeah.
And the documentary comes in the form of flashing back to 2016, what's going on now. It's quite apt as to what's actually happened today. It's Elon Musk and in testing his rockets and see if they'll land correctly.
Yep.
And then it'll flash forward to 2033, where we've just landed on Mars and all the troubles and strifes that you're going to have to go through. But then they'll relay it back onto today's science and what we can do later on. So I highly recommend it.
Cool.
I've been meaning to check that out because that does look quite good. That
I'll be honest with you, I've never heard of it. I honestly haven't heard of it before.
The thing I had trouble with is I was enjoying the science fiction,
right?
And then it's quite jarring when it jumps back to real life documentary,
right?
But then you enjoy the documentary, and are quite jarred when it jumps back to the science fiction.
It isn't that. Oh, hang on! It isn't that thing that was on the BBC a while back where they go round and then it all starts going wrong on the ship, and some guy gets radiation poisoning and.
Don't think so.
The ship looks a bit like the one from The Martian because it's lifted from some NASA plan or something, and it's like about 20 miles long and got a big disc in the middle of it.
I don't think it's that one. No.
Why isn't it that one, Elton? Tell me.
It's that one. Yes, you're right. I've just remembered.
Good. Now we can move on. I'm happy now. I am right.
Yeah. What else have I been doing? I had your good self on Chunky Lab, which I have to thank you for. So thank you very much.
Yes. Because we built this city on sausage rolls.
Hot dog, jumping far, I want cookie.
Yeah. Hit me with your best shark.
I had the same experience this week.
Yeah.
After there was it Bad Boys by Wham?
Yeah.
Okay, now 34 years after this bloody record had been released, I finally understand. I finally caught on and heard a lyric from that song properly.
Right, go on.
Okay, I always thought, well, there's a line that says cigarettes and love bites.
Yeah.
I thought they said cigarettes and log fights. And I've always been confused by that. It's like, cigarettes and log fights? But
Did you think they were both balancing on a log in a river?
No, it's a euphemism for, shall we say,
Sword fighting.
Yes, men's penis jousting.
Tummy sticks.
Tummy sticks. Like poo sticks.
Flesh sabers at dawn. On guard, sir.
Have at you.
Have at you.
Large sabers.
That
You
reminds
ain't going to poke me with that, are you?
That reminds me of a film with John Ritter called Skin Deep. Has anyone
Oh,
seen
yes.
it?
Yeah, the luminous condoms.
The luminous condoms. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
Yeah.
In case you don't know, Elton, because we won't cover it because it's not a particularly good film, but there's a scene where basically this guy who's much too old for what's going on basically borrows a condom off of a young boy because he can't get to the shops, and basically it turns out that they're luminous.
Yeah.
Right.
And so there's this scene where this other guy comes in and finds this guy with this other guy's wife, and they're both wearing luminous condoms. So there's basically a red willy and a sort of blue willy just sort of flopping about in the dark, and that's all you can see. It's quite a surreal moment. I'll be honest with you.
I do remember it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the finest moment of
My
comedy in the world.
imagination, I had they actually dubbed on the iconic buzz.
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sound.
Yeah.
Oh, it'd be rude not to, though.
And
Surely.
there's also a sort of Rolf Harris wobble board kind of noise as well, sort of going on over the top. As they run around, because they start chasing each other around the room. Because he's like, "Come here, you son of a bitch!" And you just see this little red penis sort of flopping around in the dark, and then there's this sort of blue one sort of chasing after it. Not the Star Wars parody I was hoping for, but
No.
there you go.
No. And I also started a new podcast venture with Mr. Andy on the Earth to the Moon.
Seems
I promised I would mention that.
Yes, it's okay. That's worth mentioning because you've done Apollo 13, haven't you?
Yeah, we covered Apollo 13, and we're going to be covering, I think there are 12 episodes in this show. It's from HBO from 97, I think it is. So it's getting dated, but it holds up.
Yeah. Well, it's still interviews with the actual astronauts as well, isn't it? It's not just dramatizations and that kind of thing.
No. So we shall be venturing on to that very, very soon. I'll tell you what, I'll plug it at the end of the show.
Hey, there you go. That's something to plug. Brilliant.
Yeah, there you go.
Right, yo. Well, let's move on then to you, Mr. Barnard, with your flashy new silver headphones.
With my flashy new silver headphones.
How are you doing?
I'm looking like a very sexy Cyberman.
You look...
Oh, yes. Wouldn't you like me to delete you? Yes, you would. I can see you looking at my ears. You like my ears, don't you?
I'm going to jam some gold in your throat in a minute.
They're big and thick. Yes, they are. You like things that are thick. Girth is your thing, isn't it? Yes.
I'm scared.
You should be.
Make no sudden move.
You will be. Oh, yes, you will be.
Moving on.
Moving on quickly. Yeah, this week I don't seem to be doing much at all, really, apart from sitting around watching stuff.
Seems like the sort of thing to do.
Yes. So I thought I'd start another series. I finished one thing, can't remember what it was now, but I thought I'm going to go back and start something that I never finished. So I started watching Gotham again.
Oh dear.
No, actually.
You never start something you can't finish.
Actually, it's a much better show when you watch it back to back.
Okay, that's going to come round again when it comes to my week. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, I know there's a bit of criticism at the show about it showing up certain villains at certain times.
Well, pretty much all of them, isn't it? I mean, Batman will be 87 by the time these.
No, actually, because there's a few of the main villains that you get in Batman's sort of, fucking history. In this, they are actually around about the right age, so you can see things like Poison Ivy.
Yeah, is
a small child in this, and you can see where her beginnings come from, and it's just like, oh right, okay, yeah, okay. She didn't have a very good upbringing.
No.
And there's one or two other big villains that you can see where they're sort of like the start of their fall begins. Yeah, and maybe they're like their early 20s or their teenage years.
But is it still Cuckoo La La Land nuts?
No, it's not. It's more like crime procedural drama. It's actually got an awful lot of it is based in sort of like realism. With this, they try and add instead of like where the Batman's villains are quite fantastic and quite over the top, they give them a bit of a realistic slant. Mm-hmm. It's like the Penguin and so you can see the beginnings of things like where with things like Bane, right?
Bane.
Not Bane himself, but you can see where the technology for Bane kicks off.
Oh, I see.
And other characters like Black Mask, who's quite a major.
Yeah, and Victor Zsasz.
Victor Zsasz is in it as well. But yeah, you can see the rumblings of these characters and it builds them up nicely. But I do like Jim Gordon in it. He's played very well by the guys on there. He's also got like this slightly dodgy partner. Detective Bullock, I think he's
I've seen him.
Yeah. So it's interesting character development for both of them as they go on, because either of them start off at one end of the spectrum, and these characters are slowly learning from one another.
Yeah,
how they do their thing, and you can see that the characters are starting to bleed into one another now, and it's very interesting to watch those two develop.
Right.
So, I like that. I like the Penguin in it. I think the Penguin's very good. He's very quite cowardly, but very underhanded.
Yeah.
And there's also one or two characters that aren't actually in the Batman mythos, but they've created them for the show.
Yeah.
That are sort of like regular players in it.
Cool.
So, Jada Pinkett Smith, I think, is very good as Fish Mooney.
Yeah.
I like her. I know there are some people who have a bit of a problem with her character, but I've got absolutely no problem with her character whatsoever. And I've seen later on down the line what happens to her as well in that series. I've seen the full season 1.
Oh,
sorry, what's a Fish Mooney?
That's her name. Her name's Fish Mooney.
That's where you get to see a bit of tail.
Yeah. It's I think Fish is the nickname, Mooney is a real name. But she's like an owner of a nightclub who works for one of the big crime bosses in the city, and she's got her own sort of thread and where she wants to be and what she's trying to do and achieve and how she's playing it off against other people and stuff like that. And you see how corrupt the Gotham City police force is in this, and you can see Jim Gordon trying to just bite his lip through most of it so he can try and affect change and get into where he needs to be.
Yeah.
And
doing the wrong things, but for the right reasons.
Yeah, or maybe he's not doing the wrong things, but he's making it look like he is.
Right.
And it's all about him treading that fine line between getting the job done and not damning his soul.
I see. Yeah.
So it's trying to remain the good element within Gotham City.
Okay. He is the good.
He is, because he does start out as quite a sort of, they call him the Boy Scout to begin with.
Yeah, well, I saw up to about episode 4, and then I just bailed when it suddenly, someone just turned up, started throwing knives about, and they all went, Victor Zsasz! It was like, I'm in a Scooby-Doo episode. And he literally throws enough knives around to kill pretty much everyone, and he's in the middle of the police precinct.
Yeah.
It's
again,
like, what?
It's all the corruption within the city. The
Yeah.
police force is literally, every single one of them's on the take, that sort of thing,
Yeah.
But Victor Zsasz aside, because he really is not that big a deal in this.
It just seemed like that was kind of indicative of that whole thing of like, oh, here's the Penguin. Oh, here's the forensic guy, Edward Nygma. Wink, wink. Here is Victor Zsasz.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh,
again,
for God's sakes, we've only done 3 episodes. I've seen 3 villains.
Edward Nygma.
Where do you go with it?
He really does take a bit of a fucking right turn later on in that series.
Yeah.
So I don't mind him at all. I've got no problem with his character whatsoever.
With the characters. I just have a problem with them all just appearing when Batman's like 5.
My favourite character in it, though, is Alfred.
Yeah.
Just because there's one bit that it's the line that comes out because he's kept the Cockney accent, because he talks like this a lot of time.
Yeah.
He's rent a Cockney.
Yeah.
And he's the butler. He's supposed to be looking after Bruce Wayne, right? But it's sometimes he just loses it with the kid. He's like, Master Wayne, get your bloody ass down there. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know. Because, of course, Bruce Wayne's, it starts off with him losing his parents anyway.
Yeah.
And it's from that point onwards that you see him.
So how far you actually got into it then?
Well, I've already done. I did the first season a while ago, and it was a regular thing for me to watch on television. I was quite hooked by it. But then I think I missed like 1 episode of season 2, and I stopped. It's like The Wire. That's why I didn't finish that. I was watching it on TV. I missed 1 episode of season 3 and I stopped. Because with The Wire, you have to watch every single episode of that.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, I had to watch that series with the subtitles on. Because it's that a lot of people mumble in that show, and they're using a lot of slang as well. And if you don't catch it, you're like, fuck are you talking about? It'd be like, you're feeling drugs. And it's like that,
Nice.
Pop a cap in your arse. 3 sugars in my tea, please.
No. Pickles.
Yeah, pickles. Loaf. So it's... I like it. I really, really like the show. So, and from what I hear from other people, it only gets better as the seasons go on.
Okay.
So, it's like, so I think season 2 really comes together really well because they've got all the exposition shit out of the way. And so now you're well versed in all the characters, these ones that are actually existing, and they take it from there. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Anything else?
And I watched the first one of Altered Carbon.
And what did you think of that?
I'll tell you. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
It's serious. Guns, kill, shoot, guns. Serious. Guns, kill, shoot, kill, guns. Serious. James Purfloy.
Yeah.
It's just like I love it. I'm probably going to have to watch the first episode about 8 times to catch everything in it and to be totally comfortable with that universe. But there are some really good ideas in it and stuff. What I can't stand about a TV show is when they've got a character, and they say, right, okay, watch out for this bloke here, because he's been trained from birth. He's genetically altered to be a super soldier, so he can do this and that. He can lift a car. He can literally beat you over the head with it, and he's got this highly advanced tactical skill. And
and then someone hits him over the head with a sack of bags.
Yeah, and it's just like. And that's me. I'm making that. It's like you're giving him powers that the budget just can't cover because you've spent it all on the pretty lights.
Well, I can tell you something about the pretty lights
of the city
when it gets to my week.
Yeah. The pretty lights. I mean, the pretty lights of the city are pretty.
Yes, they should be.
There's some very good special effects in that show, and it is literally Blade Runner, the TV show.
Well, it's funny you should mention that.
Yeah. You can't mistake it for anything else. You look at it, there's fucking flying cars in it and stuff like that. They're literally spinners in that. So you might as well say, it could be taking place in the same universe.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's not a single replicant as far as I've seen in that first episode.
No, there's no replicants. No, it's not that. It's not that at all. I'll just drop it when I get to my week. But anyway.
Okay.
So anyway, anything else, sir?
Watched the last episode of The Good Place
and
as well. Really want that to hurry up and come back.
Right.
I do love that show.
Because I haven't seen any of that at all.
You haven't?
No. I know what you said. I know of it, and I know you liked it from what you said before. But
there's an awful lot of people that really dig. I mean, there's some people that don't get on with it, but me personally, I really liked it. My favourite character in that is a character called Janet, and when you watch the show, you'll see why. Ted Danson, though, he's superb in this.
Yeah, don't spoil it for me because that's my next one on the list.
No, I'm not. I can't say anything about it at all. No. But well, all I'll say is
I can't say anything about it at all. However,
no, I'll just give you the blurb for anybody who's not actually. If you've been sort of like stuck in a subway tunnel for the past sort of like 6 months and you don't know anything about this show.
Yeah,
it's all about. The premise is it's a young woman who dies and goes to the good place, which is like heaven. But she's been sent there by mistake.
Clerical error.
It's a clerical error, and she's turned up, and so she has to try and stay and be a good person. She has to learn to be a good person because she's a bit shit in real life.
Right.
So it's very, very funny.
Yeah,
very funny indeed. Like I say, I liked it. So
like I say, I've got
a lot of people I know like it.
Yeah, I'm fully intending to watch it. I literally just need to finish off the series I'm watching on Netflix at the moment. I'm going through a couple of them. So.
I'm doing them all as they come out on these ones. So
I haven't got the fucking time for that.
I've got the light and fluffy Black Lightning as well.
I've watched one episode of that. Fuck off.
It is.
It's just bollocks. That is.
It's. I don't think it's bollocks. It's a light and for me. It's like superhero shit, and I can sit and watch that till the cows come home. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
I've done 3 seasons of Arrow, which is
that's more than me.
I've just come back from being on an island for 5 years and flashback, and I'm just going down the shops and
flashback.
While I was down the fruit and veg aisle, I remember I couldn't get fruit and veg while I was on the island for 5 years.
Flashback,
and then I went and got some toilet rolls, and then I remembered I never had any toilet rolls.
Flashback
on the island that I was trapped on for 5 years. I had to use stinging nettles.
Flashback.
5-minute
flashback.
5-minute flashback. Yes. And then I had put 3 sugars in my tea, and then I remembered that while I was on the island for 5 years,
I had to have sugar cane.
I never had any sugar in my tea. I never had any tea.
5-minute flashback.
5-minute flashback. Deathstroke.
Yeah.
Mirakuru. But one final mention for one thing, just one other thing.
God.
Star Trek Discovery.
Well, that's also my week. Yeah.
Yeah. That show's coming to an end, and I love it. I love it.
Well, I tell you what, let's go from that to my week.
I'm not going to say. Because I'm dropping that completely now.
No, because I abandoned it. My week, basically, I abandoned Star Trek Discovery.
Yep.
Episode 4. And then what happened was...
You came back into the fold.
I started again. I literally sat up. I watched 7 episodes in a row. And then I watched the other, 6 episodes, taking me up to episode 13. And I have to say, I've dug it. I'm digging it. The only thing I would say is that every episode has to be ending on a fucking cliffhanger. It's getting a bit tiring. It's like, did you ever see it's just like, did you ever see
but it's good cliffhanger.
No, it's not. Some of them are like the dumbest cliffhangers ever known.
Really?
What, the last one? The last one. The last episode we just seen that came out just yesterday was a stupid cliffhanger.
not a cliffhanger, though.
Really?
That wasn't a major shocking thing like the other ones have been. It's like,
It is a shocking thing. You've just taken something that's really, like, shouldn't be there, and you put it somewhere where it shouldn't be. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying...
But there's like about 8 episodes where that's the basic premise of that. It's no...
Okay, let's just not talk around it.
It's a road bump, or it's a blip in the road, that one.
Okay. I explained it to Andy like this. Jim, have you seen a film? No, listen.
Yeah.
Have you seen a film called Deep Rising?
Yes.
With Treat Williams and Famke Janssen.
Mm-hmm.
Right, okay. Every time something happens bad on that ship, so it starts off with like people getting eaten by these giant tentacle things, and then it's like Treat Williams goes, "Now what?" Then all of a sudden he like closes the door, and then the boat starts to sink, and he's like, "Now what?" And then he gets on a jet ski and he goes through, and then he goes, "Now what?" And there's a big fucking great monster in the middle of the thing. And he goes, "Now what?"
Take umbrage that you are actually trying to compare something with Treat Williams in it.
Listen,
Star Trek Discovery.
Listen. And then finally they get away from the boat, and then it explodes, and he goes, "Now what?" And then they pull up at a desert island at the very end as the credits roll, and he goes, "We're safe." And then all of a sudden it pulls back, and you see all the trees go rustle, 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 and you hear this monster that sounds a bit like Godzilla go, "Roar!" And he goes, "Now what?" And then it just cuts to the credits. That's Star Trek Discovery. Every time you sort of get to the end, you think, "Oh, finally, they're going home. They're going here. They've completely
You trivialise some of the stuff.
Now what?" Every time you're going, "Now what?"
Oh,
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying
you just compared it to a fucking Treat Williams performance. Like, fuck, you're not saying it's bad. Jesus Christ! I
have issues. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's terrible. I'm just saying that the constant need to have a big cock off cliffhanger on every single episode. It just like. Can we just have one episode where everyone just sits around and has like one of those funny episodes that you get in Star Trek where one of them's like being a dick? Or, you know, can we? But I'm enjoying it. I'm just finding it a little like, you know, we've saved the day and now I've pressed the self-destruct button. Oh, now what? We've saved the day and I've just saved this planet and now it's sent off a massive signal to the enemy who are coming en masse. Oh, now what? It's just like, just once. It's like all the Star Trek movies all happened in the same week. It's literally, we've just defeated the Borg. Oh, fuck, the planet Earth's been destroyed. Ah! It's like, calm. It's just like, just give us a break for one episode. Just one episode. Just stop. Take a deep breath. Look around. Admire the sets. And then fuck off again. Do something else. But anyway, so I watched that. On other notes,
Treat fucking Williams. Fuck you. I'm sorry. I'm going to come in with that every once in a while. It's going to be like an acid flashback.
You're welcome.
Treat fucking Williams.
Yeah, Treat Williams.
Fucking love-size Williams. Fun-size Williams. Treat Williams.
At least it wasn't Dead Heat Treat Williams. It was. I didn't go down that.
Dead Heat Williams.
Dead Heat Williams.
Kenneth Williams.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, Robin Williams. So yeah, then I went to see my friend Reese on Tuesday. While you were away off doing whatever you were doing, I went to see my friend Reese, and he is a CG lead at Double Negative. And so he and I sat around, had a big long chat, bit of a geek out. He was telling me all sorts of things about certain films, Pacific Rim, and certain other films.
Is that the original Pacific Rim?
No.
Nope. Was that the Pacific Rim with the number 2 in it?
Might do. And he was also telling me about something else which had King of the Monsters as a subtitle.
Oh, really?
Which I cannot say on air because it would give away an awful lot of stuff and so basically put him in a lot of trouble.
So basically, you've given part of the title away that most people out there who are actually into it will know
it's
exactly
not so much.
what
That's
you
not
say.
so much the problem. It's more the fact if I say anything from here on in about what I learned,
right, okay.
that would be bad.
Okay.
But I also,
Spoiler, it's got...
It's not just spoilerific. It's
got monsters in it.
It's shit lines of dialogue.
Well,
Seriously,
like, fuck monsters! That kind of thing, you know?
Not far off.
Really?
I'll tell you when we roll the jingle, and then I'll stop recording, and I'll tell you because I'm sure there's a few things. And one of the things that came out was because once we got drinking properly, Reese actually pulled the laptop out, and he started showing me some of the stuff he's worked on for Blade Runner, some of the stuff he did on Blade Runner. He was lead on the city and stuff, but also some of the stuff didn't make it in, which was really cool.
Right.
And also a lot of the stuff that I didn't realise was CG, which would amaze you, some of the stuff you didn't realise was CG. In fact, there's whole scenes which I thought were actually actors, and there's no one there at all. It's all completely 100% computer generated.
It's good. I mean, because I thought a lot of that was practical effects. Anyway, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there that sort of obviously isn't, like, you know, the big holographic lady doing the pointy thing. Yeah.
But do you think that's slightly CG, some CG, all CG, or no CG? Just as a question, that'll give you.
Well, that's obviously an image overlaid onto that thing there because it's a film of someone. What you mean?
100% CG.
Really? Because it looks
she's a digital scan. She's a digital scan, and so is he. Only when you see a close-up of Ryan Gosling is it real.
Man.
Yeah. And there was a whole conversation, which I don't wish to sound sexist, but I know I'm going to, but there was a whole conversation involving Amos's nipples. Because when you scan the body digitally, it's 100% accurate. The problem is when you want a digital model to do certain things, like having clothes change as you spin around the room, for example.
Yeah.
The cloth dynamics have a certain resolution. They understand certain locations of sizes of things. The problem was that certain parts of her anatomy needed to actually be digitally shaved off because what was happening was the real version were actually poking through the digital clothes.
So what you're saying was it was a bit cold.
No, just naturally poking through. Not cold.
Right.
Just yes.
Wow.
No, I'm not going to get into any.
No,
of that
I'm just thinking the physics involved.
I think I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, there was also a whole discussion about something else as well, but I will keep that off the air because it all involves.
You can tell me that later.
It all involves Lady Gardens, so I'm not going in that.
Oh,
but
okay.
Apparently, 20 people sat in a room with a digital model trying to decide about Lady Gardens. All I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
But.
I mean, it's but not in a sort of sort of thing. It was literally just like we see things in IMAX that we don't see in widescreen, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So anyway, moving on from that. Also, Altered Carbon. Guess what?
What?
The whole lot of it was done by Double Neg in one facility.
Right.
They did the whole series, and all the models, every single last one of them, are background models from Blade Runner 2049. Every single one of them. That's why it looks like Blade Runner. They are Blade Runner models. They are actually Blade Runner models that you see hidden away in the fog.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is, I can see why.
That's why it looks like Blade Runner. It actually is
Blade Runner. I see where they've got it from now.
All they didn't do was stick a large amount of fog over it. Because if you stick the fog over it, that's when it all gets knocked back and looks a bit more proper Blade Runner. But fog is too costly in computer time, so basically they didn't bother. They just added this garish sort of Blade Runner-esque buildings. You think, wow. And then you suddenly go, actually, no, that's that building over there from that scene in Blade Runner, but they've just turned it 90 degrees and put a blue light on it. And it is. That's exactly it.
Every day's a school day.
There you go.
EDSD.
ABL. Always be learning.
Always be learning.
Always be learning, man. Other than that, I got a new dishwasher. The house is still here. Whoop. The other thing was...
wash my dishes.
Wash your
I
dishes.
should bring some round.
Well, the thing was, then all my plug sockets upstairs blew.
I was going to actually, when you wrote that, I was going to actually, there's a film at the beginning of it. It shows the main character as a little boy in an orphanage with nuns.
Yeah.
And he makes this model of this house, and it's got all lights and everything on it. And the nun's like, "How are you making it do that?" And he points over to the wall, and you see this plug socket, and it's got 15 plugs all coming off this one extension lead. And you see it go, and the nun goes, "Oh shit."
Well, funny enough, basically, we couldn't work it out. Whenever we turned the dishwasher on...
Shooting Fish, that's the film.
Shooting Fish,
yeah.
Every time we turned the dishwasher on, suddenly all the plug sockets upstairs went off. And it turned out, after a lot of backwards and forwards, that what happened is the previous owner had taken the upstairs ring main, taken an extension lead off of upstairs, run it down the stairs...
Right.
Under the stairs, then attached another extension lead to that. And attached to that, behind the cupboards in the kitchen, was another extension lead. And
hold on, are we talking about an actual...
four-way thing?
To quote the nun from Shooting Fish? Oh, shit.
And so there was 3 of them chained together from something upstairs.
Fucking hell. You've been living in this house
10 years.
All this time with what is probably a $2.99 Woolworths fucking extension leads. Because that's where I'm thinking he got them from.
Yeah. And one of them goes right behind the kitchen units, and then the dishwasher plugs into that. Well, now that we've got a new dishwasher, which is slightly more powerful, obviously that's not quite enough for this thing, and it didn't really like it, and so it's been tripping our upstairs fuses.
So does this now make sense as to why when you tried to barter for this house, they actually crumbled quite easily?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, you managed to beat him down. It was like, all right then, okay.
Yeah, it does start to make sense, but it does also make me wonder if the reason we occasionally get so many flies in this house now is there is a dead body under the carpets or something.
Yeah, probably the fact that you wanted actual used notes for the house as well in a suitcase.
And he wouldn't give me his real name.
Exactly.
Mr. J. Smith, Esquire. And I had to deliver everything in a brown envelope behind the
There we
shed.
go. Yep.
But so that was fun. Chasing that lot round.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah, that was good. But I didn't die. I figured it out.
So what have you? So have you rectified that?
Well, not yet. My brother's getting an electrician to come in.
I was going to say, is that where the gang plug from here's gone? That one with the one with the extra long lead. Have you just replaced 4 with a big one?
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But it's only for when the dishwasher is on and we plugged it into the ring main downstairs, so the upstairs doesn't trip and the downstairs takes more load.
Is it affecting if certain songs come on the radio? Please release me by Humperdinck. The lights start going dim. Is it just because it sounds that shonky?
It's not far off. It's not far off at all.
Please release me.
But that also explains why my Xbox used to get bad network connections, because what happened was I used to have the ones that I had the networking that plugged into the plug sockets. And basically the plug socket is plugging into fucking goes upstairs. So my network is actually completely separated by a fuse box.
So it's probably generating a lot of electrical radiation as well, leaking into the air, which means probably as you were sitting in here playing Sonic the Hedgehog, as soon as you hit level 15, not that you could see this, but I could just see the image over your shoulder of Mr. Johnson, across the gardens,
Yeah.
backwards and forwards.
Well, actually, I've got a sneaking suspicion. All I've got to do is turn one more light on simultaneously with the dishwasher, and the whole house is just going to fold up like the one from Poltergeist. It's just going to. So, yeah, that's fun. Yeah. Other than that, the only other thing is I watched Thor Ragnarok again. Enjoyed it greatly. And I watched Blade Runner 2049 again. I really like that. Watched Firefly, obviously. Serenity. And our first of our Patreon gear appeared as well, which is what you're hearing us on now, which is a brand new mixer, brand new arms, which is why you haven't got Kiki the mic stand going on. And we've got brand new headphones, which is why Darren's actually, you can hear me, can't you, Darren?
I certainly can.
That's amazing.
It's like my ears are being caressed by an audio angel.
Lovely. So that's that. So basically, thank you everyone who's supporting us on Patreon. There is also an unboxing video for Patreons up there, and that's patreon.com/Black Dog Podcast. But let's stop with the hard sell. Everyone's done their thing.
Never stop with the hard sell. Always be selling.
Always be selling.
Always be selling.
ABS.
Always be closing, man. Always be closing.
Anyway, so just want to say thank you for that. And the other thing I watched was Goodbye Christopher Robin.
Oh, right, the Winnie the Pooh creator story thing.
Yeah, which is basically singularly the most. It sort of starts off as this bucolic kind of, oh, isn't this lovely? Oh, look at the man who did all these lovely things and made Winnie the Pooh. And then it goes into this nightmare horror thing of him suffering from PTSD and basically putting his son in front of the media spotlight to the point where his son just wants to go off to war just for the fucking hell of it. And they're all just like...
I'm going to war to get away from Dad.
Exactly. And by the end, you're like, fucking hell. A.O. Milne was a bit of a cunt. Well, actually, his wife was, really.
C.C. Milne, as they knew him after this.
Dick. Yeah, D.D. for complete dick. So, yeah. But, so that was a thing that happened. It is good. It's nicely done. And it's very, if you like a bit of gentle history, that's quite nice. It's quite nice. It's
about people who psychologically scar their son so much that they think dodging a bullet is a lot more
better than being photographed with a live bear at London Zoo,
which
is what actually happened. They stick him in a fucking bear pen, take a photo of him at the age of 8, standing beside a real brown bear. As long as you make no sudden movements, you should be okay. Yeah, it's quite.
I can't see if you don't move.
Screw that.
Yeah.
Soldiers.
And then of course, but we'll discuss this on the newscast at the end of February. But then it was Trailergeddon. Trailers everywhere.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that in the news.
Yeah.
Another time. Because I really want to talk about a couple of them. But
okay, I'll have to start watching some trailers.
You haven't seen any of them?
I've seen one that made me feel so low.
Right. Did you see one that made you feel slightly Jurassic Park?
I felt a little Jurassic going into a park. I had no money.
Yeah.
Oh God. No, I didn't see that. Is there one out?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to look that up
because that one sticks dinosaurs in kiddies' bedrooms. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's nightmare fuel for children. Proper.
Oh, right, that's it. Because I know someone who's definitely looking forward to seeing that.
Yes. Anyway, so while you're doing that, I'm going to get myself a cup of tea, and while we're doing that, also we're going to run to the jingles. I'm going to tell Jim everything about the Godzilla thing that I've heard about, and we'll come back for Firefly. So Serenity. So roll the jingles. Is it? I think it's a roast in its specs, isn't it?
I think so. Yes.
Let's do that.
Let's do that.
Crackling rosy tinted specs. We're gonna take us an old film and then review. That's what we'll do. We do it for you. I can turn invisible if I try real hard.
Right, okay, so here we are. Serenity. I keep saying Firefly. Got to stop saying Firefly. Serenity. Right. Okay, Serenity is a 2005 American science fiction action film written and directed by Joss Whedon. Oh, sorry, I'm sure we have to do that.
Joss Stick Whedon.
Joss Stick Whedon.
That's not a Joss Stick.
Okay. I wasn't praying. It's a continuation of Whedon's short-lived 2002 Fox television series Firefly, and it stars the same cast, which we shall now mention. Nathan Fillion, Adam Tudyk, Adam Baldwin, Summer Glau are mentioned, though there are others. He says, looking desperately through the... Why is the wiki not got the rest of the crow? Why is... Who?
What? Hey,
no one's written the bloody fucking... look, Gina Torres, there you go. And you got... oh, God almighty. I'm having to go through the actual wiki all the way through to just see the cast. Why? Who wouldn't write the entire cast list? There's only about 12 people in the fucking thing.
Right, screw it. Flip the table.
Flip the table. Anyway. Yeah, Jules Sate. And then there's Gina Torres, and there is Sean Maher, and then Chitwe Ejiofor, who plays the operative. Morena Baccarin? Yes, and Ron Glass. Right. Anyway, moving on. Yes, the Serenity is the story of the captain and crew of the Serenity, a Firefly-class spaceship. The captain and first mate are veterans of the Unification War, having fought a losing battle on the independent side against the Alliance. Their lives of smuggling and cargo running are interrupted by a psychic passenger who harbours a dangerous secret. The film stars, we've done that bit, was released in North America on the 30th of September 2005 by Universal Pictures. The film received a generally positive review and won several awards, including Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation and the Prometheus Special Award. I'm not entirely sure that's a good award.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
That's an unfortunate name. And the Nebula Award for Best Script, but unfortunately underperformed at the box office. Speaking of the box office, and we're going to have to note at this point that Elton is having some technical issues and will be back shortly. So the budget was 39 million. Jim, how much do you reckon it made?
38.
Darren?
I would say 45.
It made 38.9.
Oh.
There you go. 38.9. So it actually fell short by about 100,000 quid of its original operating budget. Oh, good Lord. Oh, good Lord. Oh, I'm just looking at...
Let's just not get into that. Let's just...
The wiki... Wow. This is a Star Trek motion picture wiki, everyone.
Like I say, it's a 5-hour wiki page.
It's a 5-hour wiki page.
Let's not go there. Let's pull away.
Oh, my God. What? Oh, no.
You've got a shoe section.
Not far off. Let's just do the development and writing. Let's just do that bit. The film is based on Firefly, a television series cancelled by Fox in the broadcasting company December 2002. After 11 of its 14 produced episodes had aired, attempts by networks to... Oh, for God's sakes. Here we go. Sorry, there's whole sections here which are clearly written by someone who is really quite bitter about the whole thing. So let's just move past a few bits and pieces. Oh, God. Right, okay. Shortly after the cancellation, he's skipping forward quite a bit. Shortly after the cancellation, Joss Whedon contacted Barry Mandel, who was working for Universal Studios, and, quote, flat out asked him for a way to continue the series as a film, including as a low-budget TV show. And Mandel introduced Whedon to the Universal executive Mary Parent. She had seen Firefly and immediately signed on to the project, even though Whedon had yet to create even a story. Whedon remarked, Universal came in when I thought nobody else would, and quite frankly, I'm not sure anybody else would have, with absolute faith and maintained it. It's the easiest process in terms of dealing with a studio I've ever had, and they've turned it into and they turned it into not a blockbuster, which is not what they were trying to make, but not a low-budget movie either. They wanted to make a real movie out of it. They wanted to give us the scope that the show could never have. So all I had to do was come up with a story that was worth that. In July 2003, Whedon said that although there was interest in the project, he said, "I won't know until the finished draft whether or not it's a genuine film." He felt that the film's deal was contingent on keeping the show's original cast, though he later stated that the retained cast was never an issue, as Universal executives believed the cast suitable after watching episodes of the series. In 2004, the deal with Universal was publicly confirmed, and Universal acquired the rights to Firefly shortly before confirmation. And then released it on. Whedon felt the strong sales of Firefly DVD, which sold out in less than 24 hours after pre-release announcement, quote, definitely helped light a fire and make Universal go, okay, we've got something here. It definitely helped them to be comfortable with the decisions they were making, and they really have been supporting us for quite some time already. After the Universal acquired the rights, Whedon began writing the screenplay. Whedon's original script was 190 pages long. So 3 hours and 10 minutes long.
Wow.
And it attempted to address all major plot points introduced in the series. After presenting the script to Barry Mendel under the title The Kitchen Sink, Whedon and Mendel collaborated on cutting the script down to a size that was actually filmable under the budget constraints. All 9 principal cast members of the television series were scheduled to return. We've already had this. What's that got to be under the fucking writing section? However, Ron Glass and Alan Tudyk would not commit to sequels, leading to the death of their characters in the second draft of the script. So that's why they died. Not for any narrative reason, but just because they said they wouldn't turn up for any sequels. Nice. Gotta love the writing process, guys.
Oh, haven't you just?
Anyway, so it led to the death of their characters in the second draft of the script. The Titan script and with a budget, Mendel and Whedon were prepared to submit to the Universal on the Friday, and the following Monday they were called and officially greenlit. Universal began filming in October 2003, but it wouldn't actually get shooting until 2004. Right. Moving on down past the thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of stuff. There was also a lot of marketing. There was also a thing called Sessions 416, known as the River Thames Sessions. There were 5 short videos anonymously released by Whedon through various websites as a form of viral marketing. And home media, DVD, blah, blah, blah. Critical reception. Serenity received mostly positive reviews from film critics, and on review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes, the film had 82% approval rating from 179 reviews, with an average rating of 7.1 out of 10. The site's critical consensus states that its snappy dialogue and goofy characters make this wild, wild west soap opera in space fun and adventurous. Metacritic gave it a weighted score average of 74 based on 34 critics with general favourable reviews. Ebert and Roper gave the film 2 thumbs up, and Roger Ebert in his Chicago Sun-Times review gave the film 3 out of 4 stars, commenting that it made of dubious but energetic special effects, breathless velocity, such imagination, some sly verbal wit, and a little political satire. The movie plays like a critique of contemporary society, he observed. Also stating that he liked the way it was like Brave New World and 1984 in places.
Had he walked into the wrong fucking cinema?
I think so. I don't think he saw the same thing. Anyway, notable homophobe, racist git, Orson Scott Card called Serenity the best science fiction film ever, further stating that, quote, if Ender's Game can't be this kind of movie, then this is a good a movie, then I want it never to be made. I'd rather just watch Serenity again. Whatever. And
then somebody brought out the paycheck and he was like, well maybe it was a bit rash in my statement earlier on.
Yeah, exactly. USA Today film critic Claudia Puig wrote that the characters were generally uninteresting and one-dimensional, and the futuristic Western plot style grows tedious, while Variety declared that the film, quote, bounces around to sometimes memorable effect, but rarely soars. And again, the fans definitely descended on this wiki because we've even got things about cultural impact of the DVD and cultural charity screenings and related works and merchandise and themes and cultural allusions. Oh, good Lord. Right, anyway, so there you go. That's the meat and potatoes of it. If you want to know more, go seek out Odil's old podcast, which I think is still up on iTunes, which is called Finding a Wave.
No, Sending
a Wave. That's it, Sending a Wave. Which was probably a lot more thorough on the Firefly stuff than this.
Yeah, just a bit.
Thanks. Cheers. Well, I'd hope so. I mean, blimey, they did more episodes of that than I think were in the actual show.
Yes.
Anyway,
well, Sending Away was all more about kind of the fandom and
exactly
than the actual show in the end. So
excellent, and it was very good. So Jim, would you like to lead the way, sir?
No, I think maybe you should go to Darren first before I bring the tone down.
Okie dokie. So over to you, Mr. B.
Oh, that you right? Okay, I can see where this is going to go.
I don't know. I think it's going to be a mixed bag. This one.
You think so? Yeah.
Yeah.
You think?
I don't think we're going to do a Thunderdome. We'll just get on with it.
No. All right. That's fine. Not a problem. Now I know this film has had, people say that you can't, it doesn't have the same impact unless you've seen the TV show. Basically because of some of the emotional impact from the events within Serenity.
Okay.
For things like character death and, things that happen to them.
Yeah.
I would probably say, I think the weight of some of these deaths are, it's greatened if you do have the history of the show in it. I'm going to be realistic about it now. I know some people say, no, it doesn't matter. It's like, I think for a certain death in this, it does. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we've all watched this now, because if you haven't, then what the fuck are you doing listening to this? Basically.
Well,
so I'm just going to come out
and
say
spoilers ahead. Let's just go for it.
Exactly. So
I've already dropped it in the wiki anyway.
Exactly. It's the death of Ron Glass's character, Reverend Book.
Really?
Yeah.
Not Wash?
No, not Wash. No, Book. This is the one this is the one I'm going to address, because this is the one that has the least impact as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
If you're just coming to the
Okay,
show, this is my point.
Okay.
I would say, unless you've actually watched the TV show, Reverend Book, his character's death will have more impact watching the show and knowing the history of his character and where it ends up, than just going in to watch Serenity.
Okay.
Because as far as I'm concerned, he's treated like a throwaway character in this, more or less.
For sure.
Which is a bit unfair, because he does play quite a major part in the show itself.
Yes.
By the end of it, he's part of the family dynamic that the show finishes on.
Yeah.
Every character at the beginning of the show starts at one point, but then, rather lovely, I think anyway, by the final episode, I really like the last image in the final episode. The final scene is just lovely, and it's just like, if you were going to end I don't think the TV show needed any more episodes after that.
Okay.
So it's just a lovely little final part of that final episode. So really, I mean, looking at that, I'm thinking to myself, this doesn't need to continue anymore. I mean, I know it's been cut short, and maybe if you put stuff before it, then fine. Maybe this is how the final episode should have gone.
Yeah.
Right. The characters have all come together, and they all now are the family that they should be.
Yeah.
But I really love this film, and I think it is because I have seen the TV show, and I know how much of a build-up they are. And I've got to say, when I first watched this film, Mal's character, his reset, what is supposedly a reset,
it feels like a reset,
bothered me. But there are reasons why Mal is like he is. It does state why he's gone, and he is gone back to being hard. The character that has the most impact on his life, Inara, as we learn in the film, has left the ship, and she leaves it, leaving quite a gap in his life. They don't part on the best of terms, and this is why Mal, who kind of like his character does develop during the show and gets to a certain point, all that gets blown away by Anara just fucking off and going, and that's kind of like, even though he doesn't want to say it, that's like his world kind of ending when she leaves.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Unfortunately, the problem is what you're saying here needs discussion, but I don't want to kind of jump in and interrupt because I've got some thoughts about that. But it's sure, carry on, mate.
That's how I kind of resolve for myself.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's how I kind of deal with that, how his character goes back to being that way. It's because of what Hinara does.
Yeah.
You know, she just goes and basically that kind of sends Mal back to where he was at the beginning of the series.
Yeah.
Because it was all coming together nicely, and then something happens in between the end of that series and the film that made her go away.
Yeah, which is part of my problem with it, but yeah. I kind of wanna come in and actually question it, but I know that if we get into that, it's just like the conversation's going to go nowhere because I'm kind of got things that I like and things that I don't, and things like that is kind of like that's part of my problem is people having, it's relying on the fans to fill in the gaps for rush storytelling.
But that actually is quite laid out there anyway. If you've never seen the show, then you're guessing that. I mean, you wouldn't
she
even. She
means something to him somehow, somewhere.
Well, you can tell it means something to her because of the way that the crew are reacting. They're spying in on the actual conversation.
But that's about an hour in.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
that's
that's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying.
It's not like Attack the Block where it reveals why the character's such a grumpy twat 2 minutes before the end of the film.
No, I'm not saying it is. I'll get. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna have to bite my lip and just let it go because not that I don't want to have the discussion with you, but I think you got to get your bit out. Otherwise, we'll just roll around that one thing and we'll go nowhere. The conversation will still be going at like 3 a.m. So
that's fine. I think the other death in the other major death in it, Wash. I think that does work without watching the TV show because that always gets me at the end anyway. I think it's the final scene when they're around the graveyard and you can just it's just Zoe, sort of like the way she kind of just buries it. It's, you know, how much of a soldier she is when he dies, how she goes to try and save him, but then she kind of snaps into soldier mode.
Yeah.
But then the whole sadness leaks into her and she just suddenly strides into battle. And you've got Jane standing there going, get out of the fucking way.
Yeah, get behind the line.
Exactly, get behind the line.
Yeah.
Soldier.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wash's death. As much as a lot of people screamed at Joss Whedon for doing that, it's like, and really, it's like you've got to, you know, you sometimes to try and liven up a show, to try and make a show interesting, you've got to do something a little bit left field, and take in someone like Wash, who's a very well loved character, and just ending his life like that. I
think the problem that a lot of people have with it. Yeah. And again, I don't want to keep addressing every single point you have because it's just going to be like you say one thing, I say another. I think your opinion's valid and it's cool, and I've got to address it in a weird way in a minute. But
is it the way that he was taken out?
No, I think it's the fact that I think by that point, and I think it got cemented in fandom mind, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
was that when Whedon's script gets to a point, where they need to push everyone along, he always kills off a minor but beloved character.
Yeah, but that's the difference here with this.
Well, he did it with Coulson in Avengers. He did it with...
Yeah, but I've got some, sorry, but hold on. Wash's death doesn't pull everybody together. It doesn't at all. It's not the driving force behind what they're doing. In the end, it's about, as Mel puts it, it's about the people that couldn't be spoken for. Somebody needs to speak for them.
Yeah.
Right, and that is what the driving force of this is in the end. Wash's death is a death. It's a casualty.
But it's a catalyst. It's a catalyst for the preceding action. Is what I'm saying.
I don't know so much. I really don't. It's like because it affects Zoe in a bad way. It doesn't make her stride into battle to be this great warrior and kill everyone. It makes her a liability.
Yeah.
It's nobody else acts like that. It's just her, and she starts becoming careless. So unlike Coulson's death in the Avengers, where
it's used to pull them together,
exactly, fucking Thingy uses that and he lays on the special effects to get the Avengers to come together to do the thing. This isn't like that. This is people have to get the fuck out of that ship. One of their characters dies along the way. They're already motivated because, well, they don't want to be raped for 12 hours by these Reavers that are going to come bursting through the door anyway. Yeah. That's your motivation, right? Yeah. Not somebody's death, the fact that they don't want to get tortured and killed and eaten alive.
Okay. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not really arguing the toss. I'm more just trying to bring up a few points as you're saying them. That's all.
But there is a fan argument about that, and this is where I disagree about Wash's death. That's got nothing to do with the motivation. That's a casualty along the way. That's somebody who cops it when they needed to get out anyway. Right? They've crashed landed the ship. They've got this thing coming towards them. They've got their motivation there in the shape of the Reavers, not this person's death. If it was, we've got to get the team together to go beat this person up over here, fair enough. But no, death is 2 seconds behind them, right? Death and torture is coming. And the great thing about these characters is even Mal is like, he's actually quite fond of living. And when he gets a gun pointed at him, he's like, kind of changes his tough guy stance on that.
Yeah.
So Wash's death in this, I like the fact that he got taken out the way he did as well, because in real life, sometimes good people don't get a good death. They just sometimes there are senseless deaths. Sometimes it's just like, he was with us 1 minute, the next minute, something very simple took that person out.
Yeah, which goes back to the other criticism with the Whedon sort of killing off of minor characters. I think he did that with Willow's other half, Tara. That's it. Does it with Tara, and he also did it with Fred in Angel. That whole thing of the plot's not going anywhere, something has to happen. Let's find the person with the least amount of action within a particular series. Bang, you are dead, and you will either come back as a completely different character, or you'll come back with some kind of change that we can build a story out of. Coulson, Fred in Angel.
But again, Wash isn't coming.
No, he isn't coming back. But the point still stands that they need, when there is no emotion within a scene or a section or something like that, he pulls this lever that just says death, because that's an easy fix, an easy moment. And and now I've read on that wiki that they're saying they just wrote him out because he wasn't coming back for any sequels. It's like, so there was really no need in the script in terms of actually to do anything. It's just like, he's not coming back, kill him. It's like kind of adds a little extra salt to the vinegar.
It does, but then that's down to the actor who's playing the role. It's just, if you're not committed to that and you don't want to come back for it, then what are you going to do? You're going to come back, because there's nobody else can really play Wash. Alan Tudyk made that character his own. He, I think, it's like trying to replace a lead member of a very popular band after they've died, and of course, when you replace that, instead of making new stuff, you go ahead and just keep rehashing their old stuff. And I'm not going to say which band I'm talking about there.
Roger Waters.
No, not that one. Yeah.
Somebody will love.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, I've noticed that Elton's just appeared back on the screen.
He came back on the screen. Look, I'll wrap up now.
Well, I was going to say, so how do you feel about this film? I mean, in terms of as a film,
as a film, I still think it's good.
Because this is the key thing for me.
Yeah. So Book's death is just like, oh, bit part character we've introduced, now he's died.
Yes.
If anything's is kind of motivating the plot to move along, I would say that was more like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not Wash's death.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I would say that.
I think maybe I was pointing in the wrong direction, but essentially
Reverend
is that
Book is that one. That's the one you're
Shepherd
talking
Book,
about.
yeah.
That's the Whedon death.
The
Whedon death.
Yeah.
But no, I like how it all comes together and the explanation for the fact that whereas you've all thought all along that Reavers were actually just blokes who'd gone mad by looking into the depths of space, actually no, these guys were created.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now the whole thing's coming out, and I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. And like I say, away from Firefly, can you look at it as a film away from Firefly, or is it completely just the two are fused together as something when you look at it?
No, I think I could look at it. I could look at it as a separate film.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is I do like the fact that this film actually has its own language as well. There's a variation on slang and everything, which a lot of films set, say like 500 Years in the Future or TV series, Carbon, show no progression in the language that people use.
Yeah.
And this one does. It shows the mixture of, like, it's Chinese.
Yeah, it's Mandarin, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Mandarin, Cantonese, and something else. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, we do that today. We use, like, there are French words that we use in standard language. And I like the way that they've...
Jambon confiture.
Yeah.
Ham jam.
Ham jam.
There you go. Woback Bleddy.
Is that a...
Ham jam.
Ham jam? Is that a
it's the only French. It's the only French words I know.
Oh, right, okay.
Jambon and confiture.
Yeah.
Oh, canard and confiture, which is duck jam.
Duck jam.
Yeah.
Sounds like a style of music. Duck jam.
Yeah. Woback Betty. Jambon confiture.
Oh, brilliant.
Anyway, so
all in all, yeah, I really dig the film. I think it's really good.
You really like it.
Yeah, I really
and
like
watching it again didn't make you feel anything.
No. Watching it again, the final, getting near the end of it, the dust did start flying in the room a little bit.
Did it?
Yeah, especially when you've got Mal and River sitting in the cockpit, and she says, "I know what you're going to say, but say it anyway." And it's just that whole monologue about flying with love and stuff like that, and I really like that.
Cool. Okay, right. Okay. Well, Elton, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Is it sounding any better?
It's sounding much the same. Maybe.
Oh, fuck.
Really quite worse.
In fact, it might be slightly worse.
Yes. We are going over now to the party from
Mars.
Deepest, darkest Peru. What are your votes for the Eurovision Song Contest?
My transmission is coming through loud and clear.
You do sound like you should have a Pathé News cockerel going over the top of it.
Right, okay. Well, this microphone issue has somewhat shadowed my thoughts of Serenity. What shall I do? Shall I just
go back to the other one?
Parachute and disappear?
No, go back to the other one. Go back to the other laptop. It's got to be there, and I'll speak to Jim, and then you won't hear what Jim's saying, and then you can come out and say what you think. Or go back to the other one. It doesn't matter.
Sorry, chaps.
No, it's okay. Fuck off. This is what. This is fine. Right then. Well, then over to you then, Jim. The floor is yours, sir.
Oh, right then. Where to start? Cracks knuckles.
Okay.
For me, this film is a spork.
That is definitely a poster for the Patreons. I'm having that. This film is a
solution
spork.
To a problem nobody wanted, and one that doesn't work terribly well. I'd rather have a fork or a spoon, not this bastard hybrid, which really isn't much use to anybody. When I first saw it, I mean, I watched it kind of not long after having seen the TV series,
Right.
and I found it rather jarring and underwhelming. In fact, some bits of it really annoyed me.
Right.
The death of Wash, but it's also what made the show was the interaction with the characters.
Yeah.
In this, what characters? I mean, literally, there's just nothing there, and what there is contradictory, and there's a tonal mismatch between the two, which just fundamentally irritates me.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it reminds me to use like a geeky analog of the 1996 Doctor Who TV movie.
Yeah.
Where it had continuity with the old series, but there was a different sensibility and other things sort of done wrong.
Yeah.
And, sort of the essential sort of flavor was sort of lost. And it was it's kind of one way it's trying to resolve storylines, which, I mean, in all fairness, Firefly didn't have that many episodes. It was only just seeding storylines, and this leaps to a kind of a conclusion, and it's kind of, I feel I'm missing the middle bit, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, well, all right, you want to, carry on, and this could have been a new chapter, and it's trying to sort of do some course corrections. It's kind of, they didn't like that space cowboy shit. We'll sort of background that from the TV show.
Yeah.
In the TV show, we never really explained much about the Reavers Alliance. We better have some info dumps to sort that out, because that maybe threw people off last time. And it's like, guys, too late, forget it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, instead of sort of being standalone and a fresh start, which from where the TV series ended, I think you could have had a fresh start, but instead it's harking back on something it doesn't quite fit with. And this is where it's a spork.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? It's kind of, it's not a fresh start, it's not a final chapter, and it's somewhere in between, and it's just kind of like,
Yeah.
It just doesn't work for me at all. I would say the first time I saw it, I sort of enjoyed it, but I was underwhelmed, had issues with it. This time, after a long gap of years since watching any Firefly, and coming to it, and sort of, I had the experience of kind of what an ordinary cinema goer who hadn't seen Firefly had.
Yeah.
And if you go on IMDb, you find dozens and dozens of 10 out of 10 best science fiction film ever reviews, and then a lot of other reviews of people going, what are these people talking about?
Yeah.
And I had the, what are these people talking about reaction this time, because I felt it was 2 hours, which is definitely a Barnard too long. The pacing of the plot is all over the shop. It doesn't give you any reason to care about the characters. And the characters, it's just if you have, from what I remember of the TV series, it's kind of just to see Wash reduced to a couple of quips and then a pipe through his chest. It just felt like,
Yeah.
Jane doesn't do anything. Kaylee might as well not be there and changes her sexuality.
Yep.
Oh, that's charming. Love. Oh, thanks for that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's just, I was bored in retreat, alternately bored to tears and raging watching this afternoon. I'll be honest. It really pissed me off.
Right.
Frankly.
Wow. Okay.
I'm not winning me any friends here, but that's how it felt to me. It's just kind of like, this is a fucking dead duck of a film, frankly.
Right.
It just I don't think it works as a conclusion to the TV series, because it sort of resolves things that didn't need really resolving, that hadn't been built up to be resolved, and it doesn't even resolve them in a terribly interesting way.
Yeah.
What it does resolve, and it's just kind of, I say, spork.
Spork.
It's neither one thing nor another, and it's something that it seemed like a good idea at the time, but when you actually get down, it's not really. It just ain't cutting it, man. It's totally dead, completely mythical.
Wow, the Chicken Connoseur has really got to you, isn't it?
It's not hench then.
Totally not hench.
And it's
Totally non-hench.
Is it not even Peng?
The running time was fucking hench. Jesus. Well, that Roger Ebert review, what on earth was he talking about? He's kind of, you was watching a different film to me. This kind of...
Yeah.
Brave New World. Get alive. You haven't read Brave New World, have you, Roger? You're faking it.
Yeah. Yes. Fake news.
And as for the thing for the kind of, wanted to do things that that give it the scope that the TV show never had. I'm sorry, the TV show had some far better action sequences than this.
Yeah.
Miles better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That the famous train raid.
Oh God, yes.
You know what I mean? There's nothing to compare to that in this. I mean, the sort of land speeder truck thing is as good as it gets, and that's blown near the start.
Yeah.
And then at the end, the big climax is a lot of running about in corridor.
Yeah.
And so, and the Captain Mal's character, I thought, was all over the place. Where was the tortured man of the TV series? Well, he was still tortured here, but in other scenes, he's being sort of trying to be lovable Han Solo for new viewers, and it's kind of, this isn't working for me. It's kind of
that is a lot of my issues, I have to say. I mean, I'm just trying to wonder whether or not Elton's coming back yet. There you go. But I mean, so is there nothing about it you liked, or was it just utter irritation and disturbing nonsense for you from start to finish?
Well, it was one of those. It was just it deserved better. It could have been so much more. And I don't know. It's one of those things. I think when you have one of these moments of where you have a complete break with something, you come back and you go, "Oh God!" It's like the Firefly itself. I mean, it's kind of, who designed this? The same architect who did the fucking Red October, clearly.
Yeah.
There is far too many fucking goddamn rooms in that ship. When you see the size of the cockpit, the wheels completely start coming off. And I also started thinking, well, this is something Pat Mills said in his book, and it holds true, I think, for television. For like action sort of series, you need to go with a character name, or a name that sums things up. Yeah. And Firefly is a cool name, but it disconnects with the actual content of the show. It's the type of the ship.
Yeah.
I mean, if the BBC had launched a series called TT Type 40 Capsule, it would have sunk without a trace. Instead, they called it after the man who pilots it, Doctor Who. That works. Class D Federation ship would have bombed. Star Trek sounds so much better. You know what you're getting.
Constitution class? Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's just so much irritated me with this. It just really is just kind of like, I don't know.
Okay. Well,
I'm choking on my own rage here.
Okay, right.
But you say I'm not, I'm not a Firefly hater. I mean, I do think kind of I can get very, very weary in the early 2000s of whenever you say Firefly, it was almost like a fan nitpicking. Oh, it's such a shame it was cancelled. Oh, fuck off. Let it go.
Yeah.
It's been 5 years now. Stop.
Yeah.
I didn't dislike the show. I mean, I thought it had great potential. It's the James D of SF shows. Season 3 would have been fucking amazing. I have no doubt. But we didn't get there.
Yeah. It ran into
we
a
got
tree
this instead, and this is awful.
Yeah. I'm still going through that that sort of like Pavlov's dog fandom thing myself. Whenever I mention Mass Effect, there's always some fucker who'll come out the woodwork and go, "Yeah, but the ending of number 3 was really rubbish." Oh, fuck off! It's fucking 10 years ago. Move the fuck on. But anyway. So just so you know, I have context. Right, okay. Well, I spot Elton on again. Hello, Elton.
Hello. How are we?
You sound better, a lot better.
Really?
Yes.
Oh well, you do, yeah.
Move the volume up.
Oh fucking hell! Right.
On your mixer.
Is that better?
Brilliant.
Oh man, that sounds
Brilliant.
so much better.
What? Why? What? And why?
I don't know, but you sound brilliant. Let's not jinx it. Get on with it.
Yeah.
What do you think of Serenity?
It was all right.
Oh, fuck off. Jesus Christ.
I quite liked it.
Okay, you quite liked it. So
I did, yes. I thought. Okay, I've seen Firefly, and quite recently as well. I think it was a couple of years ago I was introduced to it. It was just one of them series I'd never kind of got round to, and binged it, and then did Serenity. I'd seen Serenity before that as well, and didn't quite know what was going on.
yeah.
But once I'd seen Firefly,
Firefly.
It all kind of slotted together, shall we say. Now, that doesn't detract from the fact that I can't stand River in this. I've never liked the character of River. Hang on, is it River? Yeah, it is River, yeah. Never liked the character. I don't know why. It just doesn't gel with me whatsoever.
Yeah.
But Firefly in itself, Serenity in itself, I like the humor that flows through it. I think it's very subtle.
Subtle?
Very subtle. I think it is. It's not really bang on the nose. It's got its tongue slightly planted in its cheek.
Okay, that's cool.
But it's not... Right, okay, let's take the new wave of Star Wars, for instance. The humor through there is just like a dirty, massive sledgehammer covered in shit.
Yeah.
Whereas this it feels right. It clicks in well. It works. And I quite like this universe.
Okay.
I like the characters in this as well. I liked some of the special effects. Some of them are really, really good. And some of them are utter bobbins.
Yeah.
Really, really bad. There was a couple of shots where you went from some superb CG stuff, and then you went from real bad stage crashing.
TV sets.
When he does the barnyard pickup.
Yeah.
When beavers are chasing him. And it looks all right. It's a bit hokey, but it's not as bad as the thing crashing into Serenity's bay. That just looks right. Okay, we got 7 guys, and we all push at the same time, and it looks like we're crashing at full speed, and it just looks shit. Looks really shit. And this came out, was it 2005?
Yes.
So that is Return of the Sith era, isn't it?
Revenge of the Sith was
Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge
sorry.
of the Sith was 2004.
Ah, okay. I thought that was 2005.
Katie was born in 2004, and she was going to be born in May, and I wasn't going to get to go to the premiere on the red carpet. So I was shitting myself. So when she was late by 2 weeks and turned up in June, I was quite happy.
Hallelujah.
So it's 2004.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, you still have all that just on the outskirts of the atmosphere fighting. I think that looks, once again, glorious. And I think the way that the Serenity handles as it's falling through the atmosphere, it looks really well done. There's weight to that distribution as it's spinning around in the atmosphere. I think it looks really, really good. The bit where it does fall down, though, is, for me, Firefly ain't the end of the world. And it doesn't stand up as a standalone movie. You do need the series before it, because I'm sure you guys have already said it, but characters they just dropped in this movie, and where you've had a couple of episodes full on learning about these characters, they're just a bit part, and it's, well, I don't really care about that person over there.
Yeah, that was one of the things Darren brought up about the Shepherd book suddenly just appearing for 2 scenes long enough to basically cark it in one of them.
Yeah.
Yep. He goes from Shepherd book to a Shepherd die.
Oh!
Nice one. Nice. But I'm sure you guys have already gone over that. Overall, I quite like it. There was a moment with the actual Firefly itself where it just looks like a wounded duck when it's trying to land and its feet are just splayed out. It just looks it's horrible. It looks shit. But
it isn't a good looking ship, I'll be honest with you.
You know what? I quite like the ship.
Right.
I quite like it. It's just its feet. What's that about?
Good job we don't do space dock anymore. We're not evaluating feet on ships.
I'd bring a new column into the arena.
Yeah, well, you know, it would lose to Voyager with its petty little tiny feet.
Tiny feet.
It does. If you ever see Star Trek Voyager, that actually lands on a planet and that has like little tiny.
Oh, that just spoils the lines on that ship completely and utterly.
It just looks like someone's put a couple of Lego feet on the bottom of a big ship that should have fallen over as soon as it landed. But anyway, never mind.
One other thing, the actual story itself, based around this movie, I'm sure everyone else has said it on the internet a million times before. The ones that praise Serenity / Firefly, and the ones that hate it as well. And I'm kind of in between. I'm more towards liking it than hating it. But the story in this, it's just, I know they have to wrap stuff up, but there was no way they wanted to get everything in there. It's just there's too much in there, and they breeze over stuff.
Yes.
Too easily, and it's kind of want a series on this now, and yeah, you're not going to get it, but it's just come on. It
Thin soup is a phrase I put in my notes.
What was that?
Thin soup.
Thin soup.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thin soup and a spork. that was Jim's review in a nutshell while you were away. Actually, Elton, it's a spork.
Yeah, man, I like it. I really do like it, and I enjoyed it. I watched it twice, and I got more out of it the second time round. I found it's amusing without being stupid, and I like the one-liners. Normally, I cringe at the one-liners and just turn my nose up at it, but for some reason, I quite liked it on this.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a thumbs up from me.
Okay.
Just a little trivial fact about this film, by the way.
Okay.
At the beginning of the film, it's
go ahead, caller.
As the Serenity, as the Serenity is actually crashing down as well.
Yes.
Like they think it's going to get ripped apart.
Yes.
Mal actually comes out with a line which is used. If you go back to the very first few episodes of The Black Dog, you can hear that one line from Serenity in the opening tune to our podcast.
Yeah, for the first 16 episodes.
Yeah, there we go.
Which was actually also, if you want to get into it, the theme tune was actually done and given to us by the composer of 2000 AD games for the Commodore 64. So the Judge Dredd game with the loading screens and all that sort of stuff. He did a remix of his own track and a loading track and gave it to us.
Wow.
So that down, bow, 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 bow. That's 2000 AD Commodore 64 loader.
Maybe we should bring that back.
Well, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, thing. That, and then, we have Mal going, "This is your captain. We may experience some slight turbulence and then explode." Okay. Well, okay, let me get my thoughts out and then we'll wrap this up because it's getting quite late. But, I mean, for me, the problem is I try to review it in two different ways. One, as someone who's watched the series, and then as someone who would come to this film sort of blind, cold. And the thing was, as I said at the beginning of How's Your Week, I sat there and it's all right, we can't hear you, just drink.
You can't hear me chugging away on this beer?
No.
Okay.
No. We might do in a minute if you do it right up next to the mic. But
what if you can hear me shooting up with these drugs straight into my eyeballs?
Straight into, just do
right
it.
down the pupil.
Straight into the vein. Anyway. But basically, so I was trying to, because I sat there and watched it with Katie, and she hadn't watched Firefly at all. But I had to watch the film because I knew I wasn't going to get a chance to watch it on Monday. So I sat there and watched it, and I said, "Oh, you can watch this," and she can sit there and watch it. Now, that gave me a kind of interesting perspective, because I'm watching it thinking, I know who these characters are, I know what's going on here, I know who these people are. And there's someone sitting right beside me who is gaining her father's, shall we say, more cynical outlook on various story plots. And she's sitting there and she's going, they're just explaining everything. They're not showing us, they're explaining everything. And it suddenly, as soon as she said that, it was almost like someone had just sort of shown me a completely different film. Because the first 40 minutes of that film is not a story. It is literally a 45-minute explanation of everything. And everything including stuff that you never saw in the TV show. So there was a mystery about what was going on with River, for example, in the TV show. Within 2 minutes, you know that A, she's psychic, and B, her brother not only broke her out of the facility, but, you know, she's got all these super secrets in their head, which is why people are after her. And there's lots and lots of stuff like that where you suddenly go, even as someone who watched the TV show, you're sitting there going, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. What's Shepherd Book doing on Haven? Why has Inara left? Why has this person left? So even in context of someone who's watched the TV show, you're sitting there going, what? It's a bit like, it would be a bit like jumping from A New Hope to Force Awakens and missing out the 2 bits in between. You're sort of like, well, where's Luke? Why is Han so old? What the fuck's going on? Why is he snuggling up to Leia? I thought Luke and Leia were getting on okay. You know, you just suddenly go, I know the characters, but I could do with a little bit more of actually seeing what was going on in between those moments rather than just being told. And that's the thing. That first 40 minutes of that is just telling you. Then what happens is it does what you were saying, Dal, which is just introduces people. And I have to say, I haven't seen Firefly in a very long time. And so there was things like Misty Universe and The Operative. And I'm sitting there thinking, were they actually in the original show?
The Operative wasn't.
But there was a guy very much like him who was left to drift in space. And I can't. And
it's been so long since I've seen.
But that's
the
guy that was in Battlestar Galactica.
I can't remember. I honestly can't remember. All I know is that kind of typified the problem I had with this film all the way through. As Jim rightly said, it's a spork. On one hand, it's trying to talk to an audience that has never seen the TV show at all. On the other hand, and this is what became clear to me when I suddenly stopped looking at it like, oh, I'm such a fan and I liked it really, and it's all, oh, they're doing that funny bit, is looking at it like, what's going on here? Actually, hold on. What we've just watched isn't actually a story. We've watched 10 plot synopses that would lead up to the end of a season. So, like, episode 1, we discover that River's psychic. And she's triggered by keywords that Simon knows. Second episode is that the Reavers are moving in. Third episode is that the Operative's after them and he has to go and rescue Inara. Fourth episode is, you know what I mean? And it's just like, and every sequence, every set piece feels like the beginning, middle, and an end elevator pitch for an episode.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it's an edited version of what would have been season 2 and maybe 3.
Exactly. Because then what happens is it goes into this whole thing, you know, which would have been, you could almost see the cliffhanger endings. You could almost hear the music building to a crescendo and then having Joss Whedon coming up at the end, and then, like, you know, we're going to have to go to Miranda. Cut. Next episode, roll credits, you know.
And then Doris. And then Deirdre.
Yeah, exactly. And then Ethel. Planet Ethel. And, you know, and so it suddenly became really, it started to become bitty. It felt bitty. The whole story felt bitty. It felt like, you know, Jim's spork analogy I can't get past now because it is exactly what it is.
It is, isn't it?
It's just neither here
nor...
nor...
occurred to me, I was just going, Spock.
Yeah. on the one hand, it wants to be fan service. On the other hand, it wants to talk to a new audience. On the one hand, it wants to finish an entire season in 2 hours. On the other hand, it wants to make this as coherent as possible for people who have no idea what's going on. And so things like Shepherd Book, he appears on Haven. The fans are going, why is he on Haven? So you're expecting some kind of explanation, but you get none. And it's like, okay, so we're not getting any explanation of that. So that's the fan side out the window. So, okay, this is for the main audience. And then it's like, so, oh, shit, that's my headphones gone. I knew that was going to happen. I knew it. Fucking knew it. Anyway. And now we'll be having a Patreon for another piece of kit that we just destroyed. Anyway, so, have I just pulled that completely off? Yeah, there you go. Go on, you put that back up. So, it's just like, Shepherd, don't just stand there looking at me like that. Don't. I'm gonna get on with this review, and then we're all going home. We're all gonna have a cup of tea and go home. So, it's just like, so Shepherd Book isn't actually Shepherd Book anymore. He is just Exposition Machine 247B inserted in there to just say, no one's gonna find us, and then die. And then have B excuse number 157A for protagonist 1 to enact plan B. It's literally like a flow chart.
Yeah, I think we saw Shepherd Book's final chapter there. Word to your book.
Mother. Yeah, I think he had a problem with his appendix, actually.
Oh, and he was just about to turn over a new
leaf. No.
I don't know that one, does it? No.
Page.
No spine.
Page in Shepherd Book. No spine.
Oh, I tell you, you could tell volumes of these jokes.
Oh,
really good.
God. We've got them covered.
Yeah, we have.
Anyway, before we get into complete pun-ageddon, the whole point is that every moment of this film wants to have its cake and eat it. It wants you to sit there with fan service and go, right, okay, you continue the story. But then it also wants to turn around and go, hey, people who have never seen Firefly before, this is what's going on. And in doing so, it becomes a spork. Jim's hit the nail on the head. I really wish I thought of that. It neither is neither here nor there. And and it just becomes literally, it is literally like someone just wrote down the draft plot structure for a season and just jammed it all in there. And what happens is you don't get any of the emotional involvement. As a brand new viewer, you don't. As a fan, you do which is what I was finding interesting with what you were saying, Dal, is you get people filling in the gaps. Making those assessments, making those assumptions. I mean, like on the Facebook group, and I was going to go to the Facebook group in the feedback, but there's so much of it. It all just came out of nowhere. People going, oh, no, I watched it the first time round and then went to the TV show afterwards, like Dr. Will. And then there's, the Andy saying, and Justin Pearson Smith and all these other people going, oh, actually, you do get an emotional involvement with these characters' death. And it's like, yes, you do. Had you seen the TV show, but if you watch it as a normal film, you don't, because, and then, and on the Facebook group again, the comparison of like Spock's death in Wrath of Khan, spoiler, but if you'd never seen the Star Trek TV show, would Spock's death have necessarily as much impact if you had never seen Star Trek? And I would say, actually, yes, because the way it's handled is it's telling one story clearly, and Spock features heavily within it. And so, even if it doesn't give you the impact a fan would have, you still get the impact in terms of its context within a story. And so, Wash's death has no impact, other than, oh, I didn't see that coming. And the relationship between him and Zoe is literally limited to one throwaway line, one moment standing in a corridor, and after that, pretty much nothing. if you blinked or paused or went out and got a cup of tea, came back, you'd miss those two scenes. You would have no idea why he means that much to her. And that's the problem. This film is both rushed and stuffed. It's both stuffed with info for the fans and rushed to get through as much of it as possible for people, but then confusing people who have never seen it before. And it's kind of, and that's almost that whole thing of like when it came out and it failed, and then they never got another Firefly series, and all these brown coats coming out of the woodwork going, "Oh, woe is us! Why did it fail?" Because no fucker went to see it, because the fans went to see it, and they didn't see it enough, and the audience who never seen it before came to it and were like, "What the fuck is this?" People go and watch like Star Trek 2, Star Trek Wrath of Khan, and go, "That's a good story." Lost Lamented Herc, he'd never watched that film at all. He'd never watched Wrath of Khan. He never watched motion picture. He hadn't watched Star Trek films in general, but he went to that one, and where we went to the Prince Charles, we all sat and watched it. He loved it because as a story with a beginning, middle, and end, you didn't need to have it added something to it by having context to these characters. But in terms of just standing alone on its own, it's a story that stands alone on its own.
You don't need the space seed to
make that work. You
work.
don't need to know about Khan. You don't. No. It's all there. It's just laid out because it's a simple story. Plainly told, well told. Firefly wants to throw fucking 26 episodes at you in 2 hours. It's like, what's going to happen? It's just going to be a jumbled mess. And, for me as a fan of sorts, I guess, because I haven't watched it in years, but the Mal Reynolds reset, and yes, Inara left and all this kind of thing, but the impact of that is literally reduced to one line, one video of him going through stuff, and then when he finally meets up with her, and that's the other thing, he meets up with her, gets her back, rescues her from, well, I say rescues her, he basically gives her no other option because he fights the operative in that room. Mm-hmm. They go back to the Serenity. After that, they have practically no interaction whatsoever throughout the rest of that film, rendering that entire plot line of, he's miserable because she left, and he's become hard and cold to the world because she's left. That becomes complete and utter moot point in terms of story and what she gives to the story and what her interactions with Mal is, because she turns up, and once she turns up, she's sidelined, utterly sidelined. So what was that whole point of making him grim and about a character who we're shown quite clearly has absolutely zero impact on the rest of the story or Mal at all? So what was that all about? That was utterly unnecessary in pretty much every way, other than I'm sure at episode 22 she comes back, but at episode 4 she probably left in season 2.
Well, there is a rumour about what that was going to happen to that character anyway. Apparently.
Let me guess, die?
Slowly. Yeah. Over a few episodes.
Yeah, exactly. Because, again, we've got to give Mal, an emotional shove. Well, what can we do? We could write an emotional shove. Oh, no, let's just kill someone next to him. It's screenwriting 101. Kill a character, shoot the dog, kidnap the child, fucking Taken. It's just Taken.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. The whole Inara thing is a great motivator at the start and a great excuse in terms of why he is the way he is at the start. But once it's resolved, about 70, 80 minutes into the film, she just disappears. She literally is. She is literally not there at all. So what was the point of making a whole subplot about her and him. Wasn't. It was just jammed in there just to give an excuse for him to be miserable Mal. So he can be hard-arsed to start with and soften as the film goes on. And that's the problem. It's just a mashup. It's just a mess and a mashup. And like I say, I've waffled on for long enough, but I think the big takeaway is Interstellar Spork. I think that sums it up in a nutshell. And I know people like it. I know people love it. And it was quite telling that I went on the Facebook group, facebook.com/group/Black Dog Podcast, and said, do you think you could watch this film dispassionately, or do you need, as an audience member, or, do you have to be a fan? Do you think people who have not been fans could watch this film? And it was quite interesting to watch the conversation go from yes, I'm sure it could, to fucking hell, fucking no, It just turned into like, I'm a fan, I think this is this. And it's like, it just suddenly, it became very, very clear that everyone responding was a fan. And that's great. And that's lovely. But the thing was, there was no dispassionate opinion on that in that thread at all. Everyone had quite strong opinions.
I didn't read all of the. I saw the one about, what was it? The one with Justin Pearson Smith was in it. Andy was in it. I
just kicked the whole thing off and gave it context by saying that Katie had never seen Firefly. She watched it and was basically nonplussed by the reaction, because as far as she could tell, this is talking back to it afterwards, but as far as she could tell, it was 45 minutes explaining stuff that she didn't care about, showing characters she'd never met dying and supposed to mean something, and then 65 plots all juggled up in the air and none of them having any significance whatsoever. You get told River's a telepath in the first 5 minutes. Within 10 minutes, she's kicking ass, and it's like, and what? We're all supposed to go gasp? We don't know. It's just literally like, it's explained right at the very beginning. She's a weapon. She's a telepath. She's got secrets. So when she goes into kick-ass mode, and the characters are surprised, but we know it's coming. The fucking story tells us. The operative literally stands there and tells us. And it's like, again, I'm sure at some point, had I been, dedicated fan, I'd be watching that going, that's what was going on with her. But you've literally plot dropped that thing in 3 minutes. So why? And as an audience member who's never seen Firefly, you'll be sitting there going, so she's a telepath, okay, and you've told me a fact about a character who I have literally only met 2 minutes ago. Right, fine, thanks for that. It's not a shock. Spork. I can't say any more than that. Spork. And it was just interesting that then the conversation started on the group, and it was just like, well, I'm just saying, someone who's never seen it before, I sat beside, and she was bored by a film, and it's like, yeah, but she may change her opinion on things, and she may do, she may well do, but that doesn't make the film any better. It just makes her appreciation of seeing a film more than once different.
Can I just ask, are we seeing the birth of a new Black Dog sideline character here with Sporky the Spork?
Sporky the
Spanky the Spork.
I don't know. Sporky the I think Spork should be a shorthand for multiple uses and good at none of them.
Hold on. I'm going to think up of an acronym for that. Okay.
Go on, you think that up, because I think we're going to wrap this up. I was going to go on to the group, but like I say, the group chat is just massive and thorough, and I thank everyone for their interaction on it. But if anybody wants to read it, I would say go to the group, which is facebook.com/groups/the Black Dog Podcast, and just look under the Serenity banner image, because there's a lot of chat there, a lot of it, all of it good and all of it interesting, but very comprehensive. Lots of people do like it though. Lots of people love Serenity still. I mean, Andy loved it. I got Fiendish Dr. Will liked it. Jeffrey Heineman. I'm sorry, I'm trying to say it while bloody Facebook tries to slowly come back to life. God. Okay, never mind. You've taken me to the wrong fucking thread. Thank you. Yes. So, yeah. So, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, Andy Plastidi liked it. Will Catlin Hallett liked it. He said yes, he thinks it hangs together. When I watched it without having seen the series, it made total sense, and I was quite happy with the plot. The series added some extra nuances, mainly the relationship with Book and Inara, but those weren't necessary to the story, which is also a kind of interesting again, because if he says that, it's like Inara's not integral to the story, her backstory. Well, it should be, because it's supposedly the driving factor of why Mel's so grumpy at the start. But again, it's like she just disappears as quickly as she appears. So yeah, then Andy says the same sort of thing. You get a brief sense of who characters are, such as the "no grenades, Jane" line, which is, girl, the whole point, the world is laid out and the stakes are explained by the narration and then the operative at the beginning. And again, that's fine. But narration at the beginning and another person narrating again on top of the narration, it's kind of explaining. It's kind of what I'm doing right now. I'm kind of saying the same thing in this review repeatedly. And I'm sure there are people listening to this right now going, he's saying it again. And it's like, well, now imagine that for 2.5 hours. That's fucking Firefly.
I've kind of thought of an acronym for sport.
Go on, him.
Specific plot omission is really cack-handed.
That'll do.
There you go.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Deanna Turnbull also says, my parents and I saw the trailer and fell in love, and we borrowed the series off of someone and binged it. They stuck my brother with the childminder and snuck me into the cinema. I was a year shy but looked young for my age, and I absolutely loved it. Jen Williams, author
Jen Williams,
said, I still love Serenity, but it occurred to me for the first time that is a really horrid poster, and the film poster is shit.
Which one?
The one
there's
with
a couple.
The one with River doing that kind of weird Pilates move with the axe up in the air.
Ah, right, okay.
Like she's on the front cover of the Jazz Singer or something. Anyway, yeah. Let's get past some of that stuff.
Like that, otherwise her trousers fall down.
Yeah, Jen also says everyone looks. Oh, she's still talking about the. Everyone amount of time. Oh right, okay. She still likes the film because Nathan Fillion for life. Yeah, Jeffrey Mark Hyman said, I just finished rewatch of Serenity. I still love it, though not with the ardour of my initial cinema viewing, where I proclaimed it was on par with Wrath of Khan.
Ooh.
Ouch.
What?
I
wouldn't say that
one.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. I was going to say, I'm glad he didn't announce that while on the Facebook group at the time. One of my favourite aspects of the series is the lack of sound effects accompanying the spaceship scenes. The film found a clever way of delivering large spacecraft battles that still incorporated the bombastic sounds of laser blasts and explosions. Again,
that's really
mainly
good.
by not having any.
Yeah, exactly.
That is really good, but they can't get the sound of a ratchet working correctly. That sounded shit. It doesn't crank both ways. It cranks one way and then it's silent the other way because you're undoing something or doing it up. It doesn't crank both ways. Otherwise, you're just making noise. Stupid.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, no, I was going to say, but the thing with that space battle at the end is, again, utterly unnecessary. It turns up, the Reavers turn up, and literally, it's only there. Once the Reavers are on the planet, to have that fight with River and the guys down in that corridor, you got to imagine that if the Reavers are on the ground, this is the James Cameron School of Storytelling 101, where he said for the Terminator ride that if Sarah Connor is shooting at a T-1000 and behind her is the time portal, and then you cut to the other side of the time portal and the T-1000 walks through, as far as the audience is concerned, Sarah Connor's dead.
Yeah.
Right? The same goes for this. In fact, same goes double for this, because the Serenity comes out of the cloud, 1,000 Reaver ships come out behind it, Serenity goes down, the Alliance vessels are all pummeled, and the Reavers come down to the planet and start attacking, yeah? Right. So as far as you're concerned, the Alliance is...
Yeah.
All their ships are gone. And yet, somehow, for the end of the film, all the Alliance people turn up with their guns and go, "Hey, everyone, put down your weapons. We're arresting you."
Well, it could be that maybe they didn't all get blown up and they were just kept busy and there's a few Reavers that came through.
Okay. So by which what you're saying, essentially, but again, what the story is implying is that they're dead, and
not really. It's one of those thingy. Is it Pavlov's cat or whatever the fuck it's called?
Pavlov's dog.
Yeah, Pavlov's dog.
Or Schrodinger's cat.
Schrodinger's cat, where you don't know they can be alive or dead.
Yeah,
they could be both.
Okay.
So it could be that maybe their forces were overwhelmed and a couple of Reaver ships got through. I mean, the fucking Serenity got through.
Yeah, but it's a tiny ship. We were talking like big Reaver ships. But anyway, sorry, I'll just carry on. It's just, but Justin Pearson Smith said, as far as reviewing a film without having seen the original, he said it's hard to answer because I went in after having seen the series. I imagine it wouldn't have held together all that well as a standalone film, even with the opening scenes filling in some of the backstory. I've heard the same old argument applies with old Transformers animated film. It more or less falls apart for people who go in cold. In short, the series is the lube. Don't go in dry.
Well, I think that's general advice there.
Yep.
In life.
Yeah, exactly. Always, yeah. No, I will say no more than that. So, yeah. Mixed bag. Spork. Let's leave it at that. We're at 2 hours now. This is one of our longer episodes now.
Yes, let's go home now.
Let's go home now. So, thank you very much for listening so far. Thank you to all the Firefly fans who are about...
Flans?
Yeah, all the flans. all the brown coats and Firefly fans.
And a few quiches as well, don't forget them.
Exactly, and a couple of pancakes. Mm-hmm. Who are undoubtedly going to leave...
Pancakes? No, they're a load of old crepe.
Don't get in a flapjack.
Oh, please, I'm going to get battered.
Stop. Please stop. Someone's dead.
If you go into egg puns, I say that you've had enough.
Ah.
Thank you. and now with my dominance well and truly stamped upon them, I shall move on. Yeah. So thank you to all the Firefly fans who are undoubtedly going to fill my inbox with no but messages and yes but messages. And threats of steaming piles of dog shit on my door. Yeah, all appreciated. Thank you very much for your time. Because I'm pretty sure this. We'll see how the old ratings spike on this one. I think. But anyway, moving on. So yes, what are we gonna do next? What are we gonna do next week? Well, next week we're gonna go a bit of a weird tangent. I'll be honest with you. Basically, this one came about because I found it on YouTube. I think is generally the whole, generally the thing. I found it on YouTube, and I thought, oh my god, I haven't seen this in years. I think it was really funny when I saw it back in the day. might not necessarily be the case.
Oh, God, what is it?
It's a film with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, this one. Right, okay.
It's a film with Kirk Douglas. And it's a film called Cactus Jack, also known in international arenas as The Villain, from about 1970-something. It is on YouTube, definitely on YouTube. And my overriding memory of it was like a live-action Looney Tunes film. Literally, like Wile E. Coyote, Roadrunner, weird cartoon physics, and a comical horse. I have not seen it in nearly 35 years. Possibly a lot more than that, actually, thinking about it. Possibly 40 years.
35 years.
Possibly 40 years. So I'm up for basically sitting there and just crying for a very long time as my childhood is demolished in front of my very eyes. Has anyone else seen Cactus Jack, a.k.a. The Villain? Darren?
I've seen it, but I remember very little of it.
Right.
So, yeah, I remember the badly dubbed Arnold Schwarzenegger voice.
Who's he speaking all like this?
Well, he
does he speak all like this? I can't remember.
No, hi there, ma'am. They did that to him in Hercules Visits New York. They dubbed his voice in that as well.
Yeah, he did speak all like this.
Yes. So
hello.
In there, it wasn't ice cream. Elton does it better than I do.
Hey, come on, push some ice cream in my face.
Hello, Jenny.
Or Chenny.
Chenny and me.
Chenny. Chenny.
Anyway, so so you looking forward to watching this?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Jim, have you seen this before?
I saw it many years ago on video. So, oh, look, an Arnold Schwarzenegger film. Just when he got big and all the old crap he'd done got released.
Oh, dear.
I don't remember much about it at all. I'm afraid it wasn't good.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
We'll see, won't we? Yeah. And what about you, Elton?
Never even heard of it.
Most people haven't, I'll be honest with you. It was a stalwart of BBC Two, sort of like either really super late at night or like really super early on a sort of Saturday morning. It was that kind of thing. I don't remember seeing it on video, but yeah, oh dear. So it is available on YouTube. It is available to watch on YouTube. If you go to the Black Dog Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/Black Dog Podcast, go under files, and you can see our episode lists. Go to the 2018 episode list, and you'll see right beside Cactus Jack, aka The Villain, episode 346, the YouTube link. There you go. So go and check that out and enjoy. So we'll see you then for that. But before we go, let's do some pluggage. Jim, give us some pluggage.
Oh, you can hear me on my own show, Hypnagoria, where episode just dropped. I'm looking back at a very, very strange children's TV series
You're
from
not
the 1970s called King of the Castle.
Oh,
And
yes.
Yes, it is. It is. You didn't dream it. It is as weird as you remember it.
Yeah.
And this weekend, I've got a little suitably spooky but slightly romantic story for Valentine's Day.
Oh, very nice.
Might be a mini episode in between, depending if I can be asked or not.
St. Skeletor's Day.
St. Skeletor's Day, yes. I'll mark that one as well.
Nice. Excellent. Okay, and what about you, Elton?
Well, I don't deserve to plug all my stuff because of all the shenanigans from tonight, so I apologise for that.
Oh, shut up, you tart. Get on with it.
Yeah.
Don't go away.
Pop along to rogue2media.com and you can find my new show with Andy Plastides where we're talking about From the Earth to the Moon. And the first episode that we covered was Apollo 13, the springboard for the series.
Exactly. Lovely. Okay, and you can find me all over the place, I guess, wherever it says Black Dog Podcast. Twitter, Facebook, and you can also find my own Instagram, which is instagram.com/cartoonbeardy. And you can find my own personal Twitter at cartoonbeardy. Mainly just me drawing and being self-indulgent. You can also come to our Patreon. Yes, our Patreon, which is funding all this lovely clarity which you're hearing right now. And
yes, the beautifulness.
Yes, which is sponsored, which is sort of sponsored and supported by lovely Patreons out there. You can get yourself some cool rewards and newscasts. The newscast is back, a nostalgia hit as it was once reviewed, you can get that, and you can get posters, and if you go absolutely mad, you can get a piece of original artwork done by yours truly. But that's just insane. But if you want, you can also, if you go up to a certain tier, you can also decide what film we will be watching, and we do have a Patreon selection coming up in a few episodes' time. Episode 350, no less, which will be a Patreon supporter choice by Steve Murray, The Dish. But we will get to that in a couple of episodes' time. Right, so do come over there, and if you can help us out, that would be fantastic. Anything you can spare, or even if you just go over there and just share a link around your social networks, that's brilliant. Right, so it's time for us to go. Darren needs to watch his Jurassic Park trailer.
I'm just about to do that, actually. I've got it here.
Yeah, I thought you were.
Yes.
And, yes, we shall catch you all next week for Cactus Jack. Until then, take care. Speak to you soon. Tatty bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ta-da.
Oh, bollocks to it.